It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ulike.com. U-Like.
The Pete Sousa Show, live from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics. Yes, it's the Pete Sousa Show. We are presented by Slovacics. Also, can't forget Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. Socorro Family Ford, baby. We are riding. We are not riding dirty. You like that? Socorro Family Ford takes very good care of us. Crawford Austin Properties. And, of course, First National Bank of Central Texas. And everybody else that's making this possible for us today. Doing a road show. We have Iowa State and Mississippi State tonight from the historic Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's 21 degrees here. I was on the plane with a couple guys who actually were Mississippi State alums. Well, actually, one guy was a Southern Mississippi alum. He was a field goal kicker on Brett Favre's Southern Miss teams, and it checked out. He was showing me some videos on the plane. You know, I'm out there making friends, you know, with guys that played place kicker at Southern Miss in 1992. I'm like the only person that's interested in that. So I was trying to convey to that guy. He's like, no, man, you don't think it's a big deal. I'm like, dude, you hit a field goal to beat Auburn. Like, that's cool. And it was cool riding with them. They were going hunting, right, here in South Dakota. I was like, it's ironic because your team's here. And the one guy was like, yeah, we're going to be watching on TV when we get done because we are pheasant hunting. And as we were getting off the plane, of course, I had a golf shirt on. And the one guy said, hey, Pete, man, I hope you got a jacket. And I said, yeah, I do. It's hanging up there. But nothing can prepare you for this kind of cold. We are going to talk today about an incident that's rough for me to talk about because I know so many of the parties involved. But it's like I also don't want to shy away from it. But I want to report the news and also lend some of my experience to the current situation. We're going to talk about Mack Rhoades and what's going on. I mean, it was first reported by Outkick on Friday afternoon. Mack Rhoades, the athletic director for Baylor, also the chair of the college football committee. And so this report surfaced on Friday afternoon. I had heard rumors about an incident during and after the Arizona State football game. I did not know what it was. It was like given to me from somebody who knew, and they were like, you should have someone ask about this. Someone like at ESPN, right? Like, and I'm thinking like, I'm not going to like, I'm just, I won't, no, not for me. That's just not for me. That's not what I do. And also I love Baylor. I love Mack. I don't want to see, I don't want to see anything, crappy befall the football program there or the athletic department, especially when, and that's what we're going to get into when I start to get into the story, we don't know what the hell is going on and what side is up, okay? At this juncture, nobody does. And if they tell you they're due, they're either working inside that building or they're full of it, okay? And we'll get to that. I also want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's time to take the guy back out in the backyard and put him out of his misery. But last night sure looked like we're close, but I don't count him out. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Texas Tech's defense, we have got to talk about Texas Tech and that amazing win over BYU. Why BYU isn't out of it, but what they need to do to keep it going and to make sure that they will have a place at the table. Even if they get back to Texas Tech in the championship game and lose again, we still would want to see BYU make it into the college football playoff if we're fans of the Big 12 like I am. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that road looks like. And there was one more thing. Oh, yeah, the president with Jonathan Velma and Kenny Albert yesterday during the Lions Commanders game. Just some interesting stuff there and some other thoughts. But let's start with the big story, the Mack Rhoades story. Again, it was first reported by Outkick. And then even when the New York Times picked it up, they had to credit Outkick. And it's basically when it's the New York Times, as far as I'm concerned, it's the Athletic now, right? But it is interesting to see the New York Times having to pull from a story and doing the right work. The New York Times is saying, as first reported by Outkick, which if you know Clay Travis and Outkick, it's like the antithesis of the New York Post. But here we are. So good work by the Athletic, right, to attribute. So the story first reported by the Athletic basically goes into the story. And the story, as the facts are reported, are on September 20th, Mack Rhoades is down on the field before the game against Arizona State. And Michael Trigg, who has done a phenomenal job on the field this year, when he came here from Mississippi State, he started at USC. Then Mississippi State, like unceremoniously, out of Mississippi State, Baylor takes a chance on him when, a lot of the off-the-field reviews were a little sus. So Baylor gives him a home. He's obviously really found his stride this year. I know last year he missed a game or two because of a suspension. But, look, no judgment here. When I was that age, I was out of my mind. I just want to kind of get all the facts on the table here. Well, before the game on that Saturday, September 20th, Mack Rhoades goes up to Michael Trigg. And this is where it's kind of weird, right? The athletic director is on the sideline and in a position where he can put his hands on Michael Trigg right before the game. And he's like, apparently, allegedly, he said, what the F are you wearing? And Michael Trigg has these yellow long sleeves on. underneath his shoulder pads, right? Which is protecting a brace. And Scotty has a picture. He'll put it up for you guys. But so it's nothing like crazy out of character or out of, you know, the realm of what Baylor's uniform is. But it was different than what everybody else was wearing. And apparently Mack was like, hey, what the F is this? Then quickly, you know, a couple people just kind of got in there. Jared Anderson, the tight ends coach, obviously Michael Trigg's coach. Apparently Dave Aranda got involved. And they were like, hey, like they kind of settled it down. And then after the game, apparently there was an incident with Mack and an assistant coach where, I mean, they almost paint the picture as though Mack like assaulted this assistant coach, which was not, from what I'm hearing, was not the case. Okay. And you know, there's two sides to this story. And only one of them is talking, as a good friend told me this morning. And like all the quotes in The Athletic were attributed to Michael Trigg, Michael Trigg's father, who comes off like a pretty normal guy in The Athletic article. And I don't know Michael Trigg's dad. I mean, we all have an idea of how like this kind of stuff can go, right? When you have a superstar player on a team who has found himself in the past, you know, getting in a little bit of trouble here and there. Again, like no judgment. He should be on the team. Like he should be given an opportunity. He's a hell of a player. Sometimes when you're that good, you get a different set of circumstances. And, you know, sometimes that's just the way it is. I'm not saying like, you know, you go back to like Lawrence Taylor. I mean, it's a joke now, right? But like the Bill Parcells and Lawrence Taylor and Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick said Lawrence Taylor, when he was an assistant for Bill Parcells, he says Lawrence was late for a meeting today. And Parcells looks at him and he says, why the hell did you start the meeting before he got there? Basically, like, this is our guy. He ain't going to be held to the same set of standards and rules that the other guys are because he's so damn good. Now, 20 years later, 30 years later, that story's hilarious, right? At the time, if you're a beat writer and you hear something like that happening, well, that's a story, right? It's all well and good when you got 2 Super Bowls in the rear view, or maybe on your left or right hand, 2 Super Bowl rings, but it's a little different when you're a middling team in the Big 12 trying to get to bowl eligibility. And I think that's where we are right now with this Baylor team. From stuff that I've heard just around the program and stuff that we have seen. Look, man, I called a Baylor game when they played against Kansas State this year. Michael Trigg played out of his mind. He's amazing, okay? Todd McShay comes on my show, this show here, and the Big 12 show I host, and talks about how Michael Trigg is a first or second round guy and that he is rocketing up draft boards. If there's a knock on Michael Trigg, it clearly is something with, I mean, again, I'll just tell you what I've seen. You know, if he's not happy with what's going on, you will see the offense meeting, and then you will see Michael Trigg somewhere else on the sidelines, pacing back and forth, maybe frustrated. You might even see him talking to family members during a game, family members in the stands. So I feel like in a lot of the reporting that I've seen so far, right, we haven't touched on that. Like, I'm not saying Michael Trigg is like a fox in the hen house. I'm not saying that. Again, I'm not in the building. I don't know. But what I am saying is there's way more to this story than we think that we have. Even myself. That story, when I read it Friday night, Christy and I, my beautiful fiance, were out at dinner when the story broke. And I was kind of waiting for it to break because I figured if somebody's calling me, I'm not Pete Thamel, by the way. I'm Pete Sousa, okay? Now, if somebody's calling me and saying you should get on this story, like, I think that person was hoping that I would get in touch with Pete Thamel. And at that point, Pete Thamel would be like, yeah, I know about it. Like, I don't think that I would surprise a guy like that with a story. If something happened on September 20th and it's getting to me on November 1st, like, this story hasn't passed the smell test. And people have not known how to report it because it is that weird and it's that funky. Apparently, Mack was accountable when the time came to be accountable. Baylor put out a statement on Friday in response to The Athletic. I'm not going to read it because it'll bore you, but it basically said, yeah, Mack screwed up. And Mack knows he screwed up, and that's not what we're about. And we're going to move on. You know, the investigation has been completed, and And that's that. And I applaud them for that because, one, they were very direct and forthright. They didn't hide from anything. When it came time to make a statement, they made the statement. My biggest issue with Mack in this whole thing is like an athletic director that deeply entrenched on a team's bench before the game might be a little much. That's all I'll say. But Mack has an ego, and he probably should have an ego. He's done a tremendous job as an athletic director at several different stops. And I understand people are not necessarily pumped about where maybe the football program is going under Dave Aranda. And I would say to that, you don't get every decision right. But he brought Matt Rule here to clean up the mess that was left for Matt Rule and was left for Mack Rhoades when Mack Rhoades got hired. Matt Rule, all he did was put this program on the right direction, take them to a Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl, and leave the cupboard so stocked that a very bright young defensive coordinator named Dave Aranda could take over and take some of Matt Rule's players, a lot of people would say Matt Rule's players, and also using a lot of his moxie mindset and demeanor, right? Dave Aranda I'm talking about now. Because guess what, dude? He had the keys to that operation when they won the Big 12 title and when they won the Sugar Bowl. They won these two things. Matt Rule didn't win them, okay? That's another feather in Mack Rhoades' cap. I always say the biggest feather, it's a goddamn peacock by now, is Kelvin Sampson, who is the head coach at Houston, who Mack Rhoades hired there, right? Kelvin, when Mack Rhoades hired him, was not the hottest name on the coaching market at the time, okay? You could say that Mack maybe rolled the dice on Kelvin and maybe Kelvin rolled the dice on him. Either way, that's pretty goddamn good-looking marriage right now. I think we would all agree. What Mack Rhoades did for Houston and now what Kelvin Sampson is doing for Houston, it's pretty special. The Kim Mulkey situation, look, I loved Kim Mulkey, but a lot of people will tell you it was time for Kim to go, right? And to have to navigate those ugly waters when you have a Hall of Fame coach who doesn't seem like they can get along with anybody, right? And you got to find a way to work that out and come up with some kind of exit plan that went as best as it possibly could. If it's me, I again, like, when I was going to agree, and I wasn't in the building, I don't know how difficult life with Kim Mulkey was, but you know, she's one of the best coaches of all time. So it lets you know that they kind of had a mindset of like, no toxic people here, right? I think heard some things. So he found a way to move on from that situation and hit a home run with Nikki Collin, by the way, a home run. Nikki Collin is not only an amazing person, but an amazing coach. And I like her from a media standpoint because she has said to me point blank, I want to make our basketball program somewhat like the Oregon football program is like, or the Oregon basketball program was like on the women's side. Like, basically, I want to invite, I don't even know that part about the women's side. I swear, I think she was just talking about Oregon football, and I just told a fib trying to get women's basketball in there. I know that Nikki is saying that she just wanted to make it like a wide open situation where everybody was invited and felt a part of, media, community. And that's what we've seen now with this Baylor women's basketball team. And Nikki's also a hell of a coach. She coached her rear end off. And this Baylor women's basketball team, you know, they began the season with a victory over Duke. They were in the Sweet 16 2 years ago. Last year, I think they got bounced in the second round, maybe the first. Too early. But, you know, X's and O's wise right now, and on the floor is Nikki Collin, Kim Mulkey, no. But she is on her way, and the program is certainly doing a heck of a job. And that was a marriage, talk about marriages now, with Nikki Collin, with Kim Mulkey, and that athletic department that just, they could no longer coexist, okay? So that had to be done. And Mack made that look as best as it possibly could have. Trust me. I know a good deal about that whole situation. So, like, you could certainly be like, okay, there's been some losses for Mack. This incident on the sideline before the game, certainly one of them. Now, my understanding of the situation, excuse me, I didn't mean to hit that, is that, again, it goes back to what I said at the start of the show. Like, only one side is talking. We haven't heard from Mack, and we probably won't hear from Mack because Mack knows, you know what, it's not my place to comment on this. He's probably like, damn, I shouldn't have made that mistake before the game, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back because apparently, and I just told you guys about some of the stuff, Michael Trigg and Michael Trigg's family have kind of been on their own program. And this has been going on for a while. I can tell you that I remember last year I was calling Baylor's opener, and a co-ed who actually knew Michael Trigg was saying that, Michael was awarded one of those single digits. They gave him number 1 last year. And some of the older players were like, dude, you got to just like stay on task. Like you got they gave him a single digit. Like, look, dude, we believe in you. Okay. And Michael still was kind of like, like there were still some missteps there. And again, a suspension last year for a game. So there's just, look, man, this is what I will say, because it's definitely an ugly situation and it's not a good look for Mack. But like there's more to this situation than we know. There is. Like I did PR. And this isn't like a mic drop thing because I was terrible at it, because I was in the depths of alcohol and drug addiction. But I did PR for USA Basketball. I was pretty sober for that one. And then for the Bobcats, then the Hornets, and then the Philadelphia 76ers. And I was privy to so much information. Like it was unbelievable, right? But a lot of the information that I was privy to, I couldn't share. I didn't share because I was getting paid by the team not to. And then I would see these stories that were reported based on sources that were sort of close to the situation. And the stories were way off. Okay. Most of the time when you get an inside look at an organization and it's totally accurate and it's really well done, is 5-10 years after the fact, when all those people have moved on, maybe some things have happened where they don't feel so loyal to said organization anymore because they're over here and now they're ready to talk. And that's when it gets pretty interesting. But in real time, when a moment like this happens, you're just not getting everything. And you could tell that platter we were served up by Outkick and the New York Times. I mean, good on those organizations for breaking the story. That's what they do. I don't break stories here. I evaluate them once they get broken, right? My buddy Drake Toll said that once. And I give Drake props for that. Like, I don't break news. I react to the news that's broken. And he and Cam did a little song and dance on this, on Locked on Baylor and Locked on Big 12 on last night. And I watched it because I like those guys. But I thought we were a little short on some of the details. But, and I'll tell those guys that when I talk to them because I love them. And it was compelling and entertaining. But I do think we can be a little more thoughtful about how we cover stories like this. So I'll be interested to see what happened. Remember, Mack is the chair of the college football committee this year, the college football playoff committee. He's got a huge job. And this is sort of like a coming out party for him. I will share this with you. On Friday night, when this story broke, it was in the New York Times. It was in the New York Post. Outkick had it. Yahoo. Every outlet, right? And yet when I got on Twitter and I Googled Mack Rhoades, there was 70% of the content was as far as Mack Rhoades and his job as the college football playoff committee chair. That's what everybody was talking about when it came to Mack Rhoades, not this story. That could be like, an eyesore for the school. So that kind of gives perspective to it. Like the college football world isn't really taken with that story. The one that we started the show talking about, they're more taken, right, with this story right here, the college football playoff and what's going to happen. And the chair of the committee is Mack Rhoades. So my hope for this is that all parties involved come out better off. And my one concern is that the best player on Baylor's football team, who has brought a lot of joy to me over the last 2 years, Michael Trigg, a guy that I pull for, I worry that maybe he's not suffering some of the consequences right now on the college level that he'll run into as a pro. Because you get to that next level and you don't have to worry about the coaching staff policing you. You'll get veterans. You'll get like a JJ Watt, right? Or somebody like that policing the locker room, getting you in line. And there's no way out of that jam. not a father, not an athletic story. Like, so at some point you're going to have to get with the program. We'll see what happens, right? All right, the Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacek. We're going to step aside. Scotty's probably going to play a break here for you, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. We'll be right back.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Welcome back to the Pete Sousa Show. Talking a little NFL quickly. Aaron Rodgers last night. That was an example of a game where the fact that it was played on Sunday night on national television, I mean, it's still, this shows there is still the power of like television. And if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of it, there's power in like linear television, which is like over the air, which is like NBC basically, right? Like you're on NBC on a Sunday night. It's the highest rated show in television, and NBC Sunday Night Football is. everybody's watching. And the Steelers just completely laid an egg. They fell flat on their face. And Aaron Rodgers looked, Alex Smith said it this morning. I wrote it down here when he said it. He said it on Get Up, which, by the way, Get Up is a better show than I know I'm making myself look silly even comparing these two, but Get Up is a better show than First Take. That's just, I know, right? It's we're not splitting atoms over here. So Aaron Rodgers, what did he say? Pedestrian doesn't even describe the Steelers' offense. That's what Alex Smith said this morning. And Alex Smith's a pretty good analyst. My brother Mike has been on me about this, telling me that Alex Smith is good. He's not afraid to say, what's on his mind. And he was crushing some of Aaron Rodgers' throws, the way that safety he took when he backed up into the end zone. He did lose the football and had to fall on it, but that just wasn't a smart brand of football that a 41-year-old veteran quarterback should be playing. Now, I think that moxie has been superseded by fear and overall the animal instinct to protect physical well-being. There were times when players were bearing down on Aaron Rodgers last night where he did. Remember the Jim Everett in the NFC Championship? I know I'm going way back, but it's actually what kind of precipitated the Jim Rome calling Jim Everett Chris Everett several times. And then Jim Everett told him if he called him Chris again, he'd flip the table on him. And Jim Everett did. Great moment in sports television, or maybe a really low, dark moment. But either way, it's something that I was, as a kid, I was like, oh my God. But if you remember in that NFC Championship, Jim Everett would drop back the pass and he would feel the pressure and he'd just kind of get in the fetal position. It was against the 49ers, I think in 1990, I think it was when the Rams beat the Giants on the road at Giant Stadium, and then they lost in that NFC Championship to the 49ers. But Everett was just literally protecting his body. It was a fight or flight type stuff. And we saw that from Aaron Rodgers last night. And I'm sure it's happened before this year, but it was the first time that I saw it because I don't watch every Steelers game. And he looked like a 41-year-old man trying to play in the NFL. And I was thinking about the way that Aaron Rodgers looks right now. And I sent Scotty this side-by-side pictures, and if he could throw these up, that'd be great. But Aaron Rodgers, when he took the starting job, or when he was signed by the Jets, he looked like 007. He did. He looked so smooth. He had this twinkle in his eye. HBO went ahead and did the whatever the hell that show is called, Hard Knocks, and he was just the man, and he looked cool. He just had this swagger. Now he's gone from 007 to last night watching the press conference, he looks like a double homicide suspect. He's all pale, his eyes are all wide. It's just he seems like he's been out. I don't know, he seems like he's been inside for too long. But he also looks like a guy that lives outside. So I don't know. By the way, I do not count him out. The Steelers are still in first place, but it's interesting what's happening there. Who's this? Oh, hi, what's your address? We'll get back to that. It's from Erica Fisher, good friends of my brother Kevin Sousa. The Fishers are the best. Erica and Evan. Man, they live out in Palos Verdes. Nice house, escaped the fires. They're good. Fires were less than a year ago, but they were right in the middle of that. We stay in Southern California where we can switch over to Matthew Stafford. I don't know what the hell is going on over there, but how about his last 6 games? 20 touchdowns and no interceptions. They have won, I guess, 4 straight, right? I think. And yeah, they have. And in those 4 games, he's the only player ever in NFL history to throw 4 touchdowns and no interceptions in each of those games. He's the first player ever to do that in 4 consecutive games. Okay, that dude's no spring chicken either. I'm really interested to see how if this is just a heat check or does he keep this going. The Rams are on fire. Pretty cool to see. It's just a reminder. Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Remember all the trade talk in the offseason? Are the Rams going to blow it up? No, right? And why would you? So it's not just a strong pair of dentures that got Matthew Stafford going. It's a strong arm and obviously a very bright head coach, Sean McVay. And by the way, I want to get dentures like that. I hope I can afford those someday. I've said that before, and people laugh at me, but I'm being honest about that. One more NFL note. Obviously, best game tonight, and two more Monday Night Football notes, or two more NFL notes. Best game of the season on Monday Night Football is tonight, Packers and the Eagles. Now, it's in Green Bay. I'll probably get to see the second half of it. I'll be calling the that game, Iowa State and Mississippi State tonight. It's going to be awesome. Iowa State's ranked 16th in the country, and that's on ESPNU. So watch that too. You can flip over and check that out and see me and my man Tim Welsh. Tim was the head coach at Providence, and I'm headed over to meet him at the shoot-arounds here in a little bit. But last NFL note, how about Donald Trump stopping by the Redskins game in the booth with Jonathan Velma and Kenny Albert? So Kenny Albert has officially called more, I think, professional sporting events than anyone in the history of the world. That's when you factor in all the work he's done, like with MSG, and, you know, maybe it's the Yes Network, but that New York area, right? I know the Rangers hockey he does or has done. Anyways, Kenny Albert, he doesn't need any more experience doing this. He's amazing at what he does. Jonathan Velma, same deal. The guy who won a Super Bowl. He was a first-round pick by the Jets. Obviously, he was a champion of Miami, too. And he's a smooth dude. You want to know the power of charisma? And just the office of the president, we can step away from actually like who it is, Donald Trump, because he is sometimes, I think, people that have met him on the left and the right, the guy's charisma is like overwhelming. And you could see those guys were like two teenagers interviewing him last night or yesterday. It was a complete and utter jailbreak during that interview. At times it was cringeworthy. At times it was hilarious. And I was just like, wow, like, you know, you're Jonathan Velma and you wake up on a Monday and you're like, okay, I got Lions and Commanders this weekend. Like pretty, you know, it's a good game. Lions are playing great. What can the Commanders do? Can they get back in it? You're calling NFL games every week. I mean, raise your hand if you didn't know Jonathan Velma was on an NFL like football crew. I did not prior to yesterday. So good for him. I clearly am not watching enough NFL. And he's a really good analyst. But like that interview, it was just like they were two giggling, like everybody was stepping on everybody. It was not, it was just like, man, we are in this bizarre world now. I don't like, because with Donald Trump, it's like he gets in there and it's just like the bullets are flying, like, and not in like a negative way. Like it's just like they're talking about anything, and Trump is talking to them like they're Redskins fans. Like he's like, you need a touchdown here. You need a touchdown. It's like Kenny Albert and Velma are like, you know, we're not employed by the Redskins, the Commanders. It's just funny, man. Trump he is a piece of work, and he's in there with those guys, and you know. I'm sure there's people in Jonathan Velma's life who are going to be like, I can't believe you talked to that guy for that long. And Kenny Albert the same. But, like, they got a job to do. They're employed by Fox. So, anyways, you're Velma. You wake up on a Monday and you're like, okay, this is the game I have. And then by Saturday, I'm sure you're notified, or Friday, like, hey, the president actually is going to come to the game and you guys might interview him. And everything changes, right? I mean, they did the best they could. But that's just like, hey, man, that's real life. There's no playbook for that. Kenny Albert can call a million football games and he'll never run into another situation like that. And I think that's like the beauty of live TV as well, right? I mean, I always say sports on television is the best reality TV out there. And last night or yesterday, we saw another example of that. Okay, last thing we're going to talk about. Actually, let's take a break. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back and I'm going to wrap up talking about Texas Tech and how awesome they are.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Sousa to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Sousa. That's SOUSA. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Back on the Pete Sousa Show. Texas Tech is on fire. I mean, they are absolutely a house of fire. When you go back and look, we were lucky enough to talk to Joey McGuire last week, right? Played that interview on here. He had mentioned that like Wednesday morning. No. I'm sorry. Tuesday night, he got out of his car to leave the building, right? And there were already people outside getting ready for this Saturday college game day experience. Ryan Russillo, on his show, he had Kirk Herbstreit on. And Russillo went back to the greatest sporting event he's ever been to in his entire life, he said, was in 2008 when Texas came to Lubbock to play Texas Tech in that Saturday night game where Texas Tech won. And Russillo was like, it was just the best environment. I'll never be able to have that back. That moment that night was unbelievable. He was telling this to Herbstreit. And Herbstreit was even like, dude, you've been to a ton of sporting events. And like Herbstreit was like, wow, that's amazing. Now, they were talking about that in the lead up to the game on Saturday, okay? So on Saturday, it was the same thing. All week, it was the same thing. Those fans were out of control. They had their opportunity, and they seized it, right? College football, college game day, goes to Texas Tech, goes to Lubbock, and that school, that coach, that athletic department, that city, right? That Reckham Nation, you know what I mean? Like, Texas Tech, baby. They showed out. They dominated the game. Honestly, as a Big 12 supporter, it was nice to see BYU get on the board late because BYU will have to now run the table and hopefully get another crack through running the table. They will get another crack at Texas Tech if everything goes the way it's supposed to, which, by the way, it probably won't because it's college football. They will meet again in that Big 12 championship game in Arlington. Now, as far as the Big 12, and you want to talk about Utah and getting 3 teams in, the perfect scenario would have been for BYU to have lost that game by 5 points. It's not what happened. BYU got dominated, right? So that kind of changes the way we look at things as far as getting 3 teams in that college football playoff, because now Utah maybe falls down a rung or 2 with that activity. And then when you look at the fact that Oregon was on the brink of being upset by Iowa, and that would have probably loaded up a little more chaos on the chaos meter and would have made it even more possible for the Big 12 to get 3 teams in. Now it's just like, hey, I'm really hoping we get 2. It seems like the dream of getting 3 and may have been lost. A lot of people, if you want a game to watch this weekend, when you're thinking about college football playoff, like Notre Dame and Pitt, that's a huge game. Both teams are 7-2. We're going to find out a little bit about Notre Dame. It's not like that's a juggernaut. Pitt is, but because the ACC is clearly down. I mean, clearly down, right? It's rough. The ACC it's been a rough look for them. They'll get the 1 team in, and that'll be it. And last year they got 2 in because Clemson beat SMU in the championship game. I digress. I hate saying that. Bottom line is, the Big 12. We'll probably get 2 in. It'll probably be BYU and Texas Tech, if I had to guess. There are fears that BYU could struggle down the stretch. I don't believe that. I think they'll beat TCU at home this weekend. I think they have a difficult matchup after that, and then they have a game against UCF. Let me look up exactly who BYU has left now because I'm going to be annoyed if I can't find it. And the show's going to be over in a minute here, so just stick with me. I got one more thing here. We're going to end with an amazing statistic that Chris Visser sent me. It's going to knock your socks off, okay? BYU, they're home against TCU, which they're a 4.5-point favorite, okay? That game is obviously on Saturday night. And then the rest of their schedule lines up. They have Cincinnati on the road. That'll be a tough game, right? Cincinnati on the road, and then they're back at home again against UCF. Cincinnati 7-2, man. That's going to be a tough game, okay? So, but you still have a chance to get two teams in. Now, the big stat I wanted to just share with you guys that Visser sent me that I found to be just mind-blowing, okay? Ruben Bain, as far as Pro Football Focus is concerned, right, and college football player grades over the course of the season, the number one player in the country is Ruben Bain for Miami, right? Guy's a monster, okay? You want to hear who 3, 4, and 5 are and where they come from? Number 3, David Bailey. He plays at Texas Tech. I'm sorry, he's number 2, by the way. Number 3, Jacob Rodriguez. Possible Heisman candidate. His wife flies Black Hawk helicopters for the United States military. He's got my vote already, and so does she. Number 4 overall, but the third Texas Tech guy on this list, Romello Height. So the number 1 player, grade-wise, from Pro Football Focus is from Miami. His name is Ruben Bain. We've been over that. The next 3 guys, as graded out by Pro Football Focus, who they know a lot more than me, I can promise you that, and probably you, the next 3 guys are from Texas Tech. Dude, good luck against that team. Whoever you are, whenever you play them, okay? And if you want to go back to that loss against Arizona State, Sam Leavitt was playing out of his freaking mind in that game. Out of his mind. And you had Sam Leavitt healthy. You had Jordan Tyson. There was a fireworks display thanks to the Sun Devils in that game. And it overwhelmed the entire Texas Tech mission, right? And Texas Tech in that game, again, they're still unsure of quarterback. You know, now it's Baron Morton, a Lubbock guy, a Texas Tech dude. Like, the story writes itself for this team. And the way that, you know, we talked with Coach Joey McGuire about it last week, like the cohesion that has come along for this Texas Tech squad. Because that's what we thought would happen. You know, my fear for a team like Texas Tech, and I talked about it preseason, was when you run a trap play in September or whatever the hell, you know, maybe it's a read option, but it calls for cohesion and chemistry between the guard and the tackle. And these are guys that have never played with each other. Is that going to be executed the way it needs to be, right? We're out of the woods, man. It's November. Like, those little missteps that may have led to Texas Tech tripping up against Arizona State. And what I mean is a collection of absolute studs from all over the world coming to play football in Lubbock, Texas, right? All of like I said, missteps and hurdles you got to clear while you're trying to get to know each other. All that stuff's gone. Like, again, it's November. They're only going to get better, you know, health permitting. But that is a story that is so special to me because Lubbock is a special place, dude. I've called many basketball games there. I've called softball games there. Actually wasn't there for the softball game, but you would have thought I was. I did it from home. But I've still called many of their games in person at the Big 12 tournament. It's just a great community. Texas Tech, they had a chip on their shoulder because a lot of these other schools in Texas, whether they have more prestige and history, they probably are looked at as maybe a better school academically, depending on what you're into. But Texas Tech's having a moment, dude. And it's a cool place to be when they're having a moment. And good for them, you know, really good for them. I was supposed to do a basketball there on December 14th, but I couldn't make it work. So now, or maybe it was November 14th. I had to say no to a game there, which I was like so bummed. I was like, I wish I could go to Texas Tech to do this game, but I can't. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But hopefully I'll be back there this season. And who knows, maybe they'll have a championship trophy by the time I get there. A lot to be excited about, man, as we head down the stretch. And be excited for tomorrow because we're going to be back. We're going to be live tomorrow. It's going to be Swindler and I. You'll hear Scotty tomorrow. I'm sorry to all the Scotty fans. My mom, Kristen Spencer in Tucson, she like freaks out about Scotty. People love Scotty, okay? I hear about Scotty. We will hear Scotty tomorrow. Right now, you're going to hear me say goodbye. I'm headed over to the historic Pentagon for a shoot-around. Iowa State, TJ Otzelberger. I could bore you with all the details, but just watch the game. And there'll be exciting things going on while I provide you with boring details. Thanks to Chris Visser. Thanks to Scotty Swingler. Visser set up a kick-ass guest for us today, Ralph Russo from The Athletic, a college football writer. But I had to realign because of my schedule. So appreciate everybody staying flexible. Appreciate you guys watching the Pete Sousa Show, and appreciate the fact you'll be back with us tomorrow. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. Thank you to Slovacics. See you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.